Hello YouTube. I'm going to be talking about a little different topic today. A couple weeks back I did a video on the ugly truth about the construction world. And a quick overview of that is the freelance side of things, not the union side of things. And it has to do with mistreatment of the employees, not sticking to rules and laws they're supposed to, because oftentimes or not, they prey on people who are not in the best financial situation, who don't have the money to start their own company, to start their own LLC or incorporation, that they find guys that are in a bind financially and they prey off of them. Good hard workers, skilled guys, but they might not have the connections or the know-how to get involved with the union. Or they hear bad things about the union and they're scared of doing that, or they have past issues with, the law and things like that, which is different from my situation, and I'll go into that a little bit here. But handing them a 1099 so they'll have to pay, back in at the end of the year, not paying them overtime, because they say with a 1099 they don't have to pay you overtime, but they technically still have to if they're an LLC or an incorporation, and a lot of people don't know that. I know a lot of people want to say it's optional, but it's really not. Legally, you have to pay your employees overtime regardless, especially if they are on workman's comp. They don't pay your Social Security. They more than likely don't have workman's comp, and they have general liability, and they say they have workman's comp. And general liability is different than workman's comp, trust me. But, in the mistreatment of employees, dirty things going back and forth, but not going to get into that all the way. Going to get into, really, if you choose to go with someone freelance, this is what you need to do, unless you're actually their son or closely related to them. But if it's your friend's uncle or your friend's cousin that you get involved with, you failed out of college, you're straight out of high school, and you don't plan on going to college, this is really what you need to do. On their taxes, they're going to file you as a subcontractor. They have subcontracted you out, so basically they're a contractor. And on your check, they're going to put contract labor. For the little memo, it's going to be contract labor. So what you need to do as a subcontractor, which is what you are, is you need to have some sort of contract written up by the terms and agreements that you're going to work for them. You need to have in there, and that's what you need. You do not have to necessarily go to a lawyer for this. And most lawyers are only going to charge you like $100 to do this. So, have a lawyer help you write it up, for $100, $150, maybe $200 at the most, depending on your area. And I wish I would have done this. I recently found this out, You need to have a daily rate or an hourly payment that you're going to agree to, that you're going to adhere to. You're going to put in there overtime, or you're not going to work overtime at all. As soon as you go over that 40 hours, you don't work anymore that week. Or if you do, they pay you overtime. There needs to be some sort of proof of workman's comp, not just general liability. I think a lot of times in freelance, for so long we've been able to trust a man by his word, but anymore you really can't. And in that, you need to specify, are you going to supply your own tools, or they're going to supply your tools? And as a contractor, they supply the materials and you just do the work. And that's where a lot of guys aren't doing this. A lot of guys that are, they failed out of college, they dropped out of college, and then they see this opportunity as, I'm going to be making the same amount. I'm going to be making more than people who chose not to go to college. I'm going to be making more than those who got out of college. For the first 5 years, I'm going to be making more than they are. And then by the time that I move up with my skill level and within the company, then, I'm going to be making still more than they are, and then so on and so forth. You look at it, and it is a good job. Construction is a good job. It's a hard job, but it is good if you get in with the right people. That's the thing. A lot of guys are out here, they get involved with, their girlfriend's brother-in-law, a guy they saw on Facebook that's needing work, their friend's uncle or their friend's cousin, they get involved with it, and hey, we're going to pay you, $20 an hour. If you stay with us for so long, we're going to supply you a work truck, which is probably broke down and not really even running. you know, you get paid lunches, all this other bull crap. And, you know, they get in there and then things start to change. You know, that's what will happen. You'll be there for 6 months. You know, people will be loving it, you know, working hard, and then they'll start to change because they realize that, oh, you know, I need to start cracking down on money. Or the contractor's been, you know, spending way too much, and they start cracking down on you guys. You know, hey, you know, for that 30-minute lunch, you know, we're going to start, you know, clocking out for that 30-minute lunch. And even though it's only saving them like $10, you know, they want to make like, you know, $10 between 3 or 4 guys seem like a big amount of money, when in reality, you know, that new truck that you just bought, you know, you probably shouldn't have bought it if you can't afford, you know, $40 a day for your guys to, you know, not go on lunch. But, you know, more than likely you're taking less than a 30-minute lunch, maybe like a 15-minute lunch. You know, have someone run out to McDonald's, they go get the lunch, they bring it back, you sit and eat for 10 minutes. You know, what is that? It's going to be about 15-minute really lunches that you actually take. So you can basically say like a $4 per guy. So at most you're going to be wasting 4 times 4, $16, you know, a day for your guys. So, but regardless, you know, $60 a week. You know, you probably should have bought that new truck. But anyway, I'm getting too personal. But you need to have some sort of, excuse me, contract written up for yourself, because in this situation you are a subcontractor. They're contracting you out. You have the ability to be a contractor. You might not be a licensed contractor, and the people who are contracting you out are more than likely not even a licensed contractor either. They're probably not. I'm just going to tell you the truth. You know, if you don't, you can ask, hey, you know, can I see your contracting license? Can I have some sort of proof that you're, you know, a licensed contractor? They're probably not going to say that, because they're not. They're not a licensed contractor, because there's a whole other tax thing that goes involved with that, so on and so forth. But you need to have that contract written out. This is what I agree to. This is how I'm going to work, and if you don't like it, I'm going to go somewhere else. And I know that might be hard at first for you to do that, but it's worth it. And in this situation, I wish I would have ran into it when I was working with a guy last year. I really do. I would have saved myself a lot of money, because it was a lot of money wasted, a lot of times in which I was not paid overtime. But I kind of let it slide because the guy was my friend, and I should have never done that. And another thing you need to watch out for is a lot of bosses, they'll try to cut corners. Recently, I started working for a guy because I knew I was going to the railroad and I needed some, you know, some extra money, and this guy was paying more. So I went to him, and, you know, I worked with him for a while, and I realized he cut a lot of corners. You know, I'm not going to go in detail, but a lot of cutting corners in construction that you do not do. Like backfilling with dirt. You never backfill with dirt. Now, I understand, you know, you can backfill with dirt over time, you know, small increments build up, small increments build up. You got to pack it down. You got to pack it all down, put a layer of rock down, pack it down, you know, go over top, and then keep going and going. You got to compact the dirt with a big compactor. And it's just a whole long process. It's a really, really long process that you actually have to do it to compact dirt. You don't just backfill with dirt and then walk on top of it and say, okay, we're going to pour, you know, a slab over top of it. Second of all, what this guy would do is that he would use a lower PSI of concrete. He would use like 3,000 or 3,500, which in today's world, you know that you use 4,000 with fiber. He would use no fiber. Most of the time, he would not even put rebar or any type of wire or anything in the slabs or anything he was pouring, which is another big no-no. Think of other things. Cutting corners, that's a big thing. If you see a boss cutting corners, more than likely if they're willing to cut corners on a job, they're willing to cut your throat for your pay. A lot of these bosses, they will wait till after 6 o'clock, which is usually after the bank closes in the United States. All banks close in the United States usually after 6 o'clock, on Fridays, that is. Cigar went out. Most banks will stay open. Most banks will stay open until 6 o'clock on Fridays. But the thing is, most bosses will wait on Friday to pay you, because most of these guys are not going to pay you with direct deposit. They're going to pay you with either cash or a check. And in all honesty, it's probably better to be paid with a check. I understand, you know, it's attractive to not have to pay taxes on it, but getting paid with cash. But you can never say that guy, you know, you can always say that guy paid you with a check. A check is always traceable, a cash isn't. Which, don't get me wrong, I would rather everyone be paid with cash if everyone was honest, but nobody's honest nowadays. But, like I said, if they're willing to cut corners, they're willing to cut your throat for your pay. They're willing to, say, hey, make a lot up, just do something. And at the end of the day, if you're coming in with no little contract written up about yourself, you're going to be get done dirty. And that's what happened to me. I was done dirty. I know now, even though I'm going into a different industry, I know now that if I ever have to go back to the construction side of things, what to do, or as far as the freelance side. And that's why I've really been pushing a lot of guys I know to just go to the union, go work for the union, get a pension set up. I know that it is, you hear bad things about it, but normally that's just movie talk. That's in the movies, what went on in the 60s and 70s in the United States with Jimmy Hoffa and all those other, all the little things. I'm not going to go into it, but a lot of these guys got to realize that the world is changing. And I think a lot of the dudes in construction got to realize that the world is changing. The world isn't the way it used to be 20, 30 years ago in construction. You can't just sign up for a guy and him pay you cash and do you right anymore. People are doing you dirty. So, you got to be ready for them to do you dirty. So, hope everyone has a good one.